Ravens Nation, you can breathe easy, or can you? After weeks of speculation about the future of the left tackle position, the Ravens front office has finally broken the silence and made things crystal clear. If you were expecting a huge twist, it might be time to adjust your expectations because the decision is pretty much made. But was this the right choice? And what does this mean for Lamar Jackson's protection? The truth is, this move completely alters the offensive line plan for 2025. And what happens now could define the season's success or failure. Will Stanley stay? Will Rosengarten switch sides? And how does the salary cap factor in? These are questions every Ravens fan wants answered. And believe me, every detail matters. Stick with me until the end, because I'll tell you exactly what's been decided and how this impacts the team moving forward. Go Raven, Flock Nation. If there was any doubt about Ronnie Stanley's future, Eric DeCosta pretty much put to rest. During his pre-combined press conference, the Ravens GM didn't explicitly say Stanley is staying, but let's be honest, he didn't need to. When he says the left tackle is a priority and that he's optimistic about a new deal, that says it all. Negotiations with his agent are already underway, and the franchise seems determined to keep one of the cornerstones of its offensive line. For a team with Lamar Jackson as its most valuable asset, protecting the quarterback isn't a choice, it's a must. What's even more interesting is that for a few weeks, there was real debate about what the Ravens would do with the left tackle position. With a tight salary cap and Roger Rosengarten shining as a true gem on the right, there were those betting on a transition for the young player to Lamar's blind side, but DeCosta threw cold water on that speculation. If anyone still thought the Ravens might let Stanley go, that idea has now been dismissed. Baltimore wants to keep stability on the offensive line and knows that Stanley, when healthy, is still a crucial piece for that, and this decision makes perfect sense. Despite the physical issues that have plagued his career in recent years, Stanley managed to play a full season in 2024 and prove he can still perform a high level. He might not be the same dominant player he was in 2019, but he remains one of the best left tackles in the NFL. With a full offseason prepare and the confidence knowing the team is behind him, there's every reason to believe Stanley can deliver even more in 2025. Baltimore can't afford to lose a player of his caliber and scramble to find a replacement on the market or in the draft. If Stanley stays, what does that mean for the rest of the offensive line? Well, the first direct consequence is that Roger Rosengarten is likely to remain at right tackle. The rookie stood out as one of the best tackles in the latest draft class and showed he could be a key piece for the franchise's future. If there were any doubts about him switching positions, that seems to have been ruled out. Now, the question becomes, how will the Ravens structure the roster around this duo and ensure enough depth to keep Lamar's protection intact? If Ronnie Stanley indeed stays with the Ravens, this means the offensive line already has its main pieces in place. And the biggest implication is clear. Roger Rosengarten isn't going anywhere and will continue as the right tackle. There was a period when some fans and analysts considered a change, suggesting that Rosengarten could move to the left side since his experience there. But now, with Stanley firmly in place, the Ravens are making it clear that they don't want to mess with what already worked. Last season proved that this combination could work wonders, so there's no reason to risk anything different. This decision has a massive impact on Baltimore's offense. Rosengarten, despite being just a rookie, showed impressive play, bringing stability to the right side of the offensive line. Having two high-level tackles could be the key to taking this offense to the next level in 2025. The Ravens' offensive scheme requires a lot from the line, especially when it comes to protecting Lamar Jackson and creating space for the running game. With Stanley and Rosengarten solidifying the two ends of the line, the team is starting the season with one of the best tackle duos in the AFC. Additionally, keeping this base means the Ravens can focus their resources on reinforcing other areas of the OL, like the guard position. The team lost Kevin Zeitler and needs to find a solution to fill that gap on the interior of the line. But now that the plan for the tackles is set, the front office can work more clearly on building a roster. The priority now shifts from finding a replacement for Stanley to strengthening the interior protection, ensuring Lamar gets the support he needs to shine. But even with Stanley staying, can he still deliver elite performance? That's a fair question, as a veteran has faced physical struggles in recent years. However, his 2024 season showed that he still has a lot to offer, and if he's truly 100% healthy, the Ravens could have one of the most solid offensive lines in the league. Which brings us to the next point. What will Stanley's true impact be on Baltimore's offense in 2025? If there's one player who can directly impact the success of the Ravens offense, it's Ronnie Stanley. Since entering the league, he has become one of the cornerstones of Lamar Jackson's protection, helping the quarterback evolve into an MVP-level player. However, the past few years haven't been kind to Stanley as he's dealt with persistent injuries injury. But 2024 marked a turning point. He finally managed to stay healthy and return to being that reliable tackle the Ravens have always needed. And now, with a contract renewal on the way, he could be even more motivated to elevate his game. The big question is that, while Stanley has shown solid performance, he's no longer the same dominant player from 2019. But that doesn't mean he's not essential. The experience, game understanding, and chemistry with Lamar make him irreplaceable. A high-level left tackle isn't just someone who blocks well. He's a leader on the line, a player who gives confidence to the quarterback to do his job. And Stanley, even if he's lost some of his explosiveness, remains one of the best blindside protectors Baltimore could have. Moreover, a healthy Stanley improves the Ravens' running game. With solid blocking on the left side, the offense can open up more lanes for the running backs, and even for Lamar, who remains one of the most dynamic QBs in the league. If Stanley continues to play at a high level, the Ravens could have one of the most balanced offenses in the NFL, combining a dominant ground game with reliable protection for Lamar to unleash his arm. This stability is what separates competitive teams from those just fighting for a playoff spot. But for Stanley to stay, Baltimore needs to solve a serious problem: the salary cap. The veteran won't sign just any deal, and the Ravens will need to figure out how to fit his new contract without compromising other areas of the team. And that's where DeCosta's next big challenge comes in: how to make the numbers work without hurting the rest of the roster. Well, we passed the halfway point of the video, but before we continue, I notice you haven't hit that like button yet. This is really important so that YouTube keeps showing you my content, and I'll keep bringing more to you. So hit that like button. It's free. Thanks. Let's keep going. If renewing Ronnie Stanley's contract were purely a technical decision, the Ravens would have already announced a new deal. But the NFL doesn't work that way. The biggest hurdle now is money. With a tight salary cap and other roster needs, DeCosta and his team need to be extremely strategic to secure a deal that works for both the player and the franchise. And this is no easy task, as Stanley certainly knows his worth and won't accept a deal below market value. The first solution the Ravens might pursue is restructuring existing contracts. Players like Lamar Jackson and Roquan Smith have large cap hits, and adjusting these deals could free up space to keep Stanley without compromising the budget. Another option could be a more flexible contract with guarantees spread out over years and bonuses to ease the immediate cap impact. This approach has been common in Baltimore, and it might be the perfect way to retain the left tackle without hindering future moves. The key point here is that the Ravens can't afford to lose Stanley without having a suitable replacement. If he leaves, Baltimore would need to find a new left tackle through the draft or free agency, and either option would come with risk. Finding a ready talent to protect Lamar at the highest level isn't simple, and any mistake in this choice could jeopardize next season. With this in mind, DeCosta seems determined to ensure Stanley remains on the roster, even if it requires some financial maneuvering. And if head coach John Harbaugh has already made it clear that he expects Stanley to stay, the chances are high that a deal will be struck. Harbaugh rarely makes this type of statement unless there's a strong possibility of success. Which leads us to the final point. How does Harbaugh view this negotiation, and why is his confidence an indicator that Stanley is likely to stay? When a head coach openly talks about wanting a player back, it usually means the negotiations are going well, and that's exactly what John Harbaugh did when discussing Ronnie Stanley. He didn't just say he'd like the left tackle to stay. He went further and stated that he believes Stanley should remain on the team. And when Harbaugh shows this level of confidence, it means things are much further along than they appear. The fact that Harbaugh is so optimistic reinforces that this is a decision involving the entire organization. It's not just DeCosta trying to balance the finances. There's consensus within the team that keeping Stanley is best for franchise's future. This alignment between the GM and head coach is crucial to ensure the roster is built in the best possible way. If Harbaugh were uncertain about Stanley's future, we'd likely see more neutral or cautious statement. But that's not what's happened. Another important detail is that Harbaugh rarely takes such a position if there isn't a concrete plan. This suggests the Ravens already have a contract outline in mind and are confident they can make the numbers work. Of course, until the deal is signed, nothing is guaranteed, but the coach's stance shows that the team believes everything will fall into place. For fans, this is great news, as it indicates that Stanley's stay is much closer than it seemed a few weeks ago. Now, all that's left is to wait for the official conclusion of this negotiation. If everything goes as expected, Stanley will continue to protect Lamar Jackson, ensure the stability of the offensive line, and keep Baltimore among the AFC's favorites. The stage is set. Now, it's up to DeCosta to turn this optimism into reality. So, Ravens Nation, after everything we've discussed, it's clear that the front office's decisions for the offensive line will directly impact the team's performance in 2025. The retention of Ronnie Stanley and the choice to keep Rosengarten on the right side are strategic moves to ensure Lamar Jackson's protection and, in turn, the continuation of offensive success. Now, the big question is, with a solid foundation, can Baltimore strengthen other areas and make a Super Bowl run? The answer might be closer than we think, but for that to happen, the team will still need to make some smart moves. Only time will tell if the salary cap maneuvers and strategic decisions will pay the dividends expected. Stay tuned, because the future of the Ravens is at stake, and this season promises to be one of the most exciting yet. Until next time, Flock Nation.